You wake up with a headache. Reach into a cabinet, swallow a pill, keep moving. The whole transaction takes maybe 8 seconds, and you never once think about what's actually happening inside that capsule, or how impossibly recent that convenience is. 50,000 years ago, that same headache could kill you. Not because pain itself was lethal, but because there was no cabinet, no pill, and often no explanation for what was happening inside your own body. What ancient humans built instead, quietly, generation after generation, with no laboratories and no germ theory, is the actual foundation everything in your medicine cabinet still stands on. Start with a question that sounds almost naive. Why would a group of hungry, exposed people spend years feeding someone who could no longer hunt, gather, or walk unaided? In a cave burial site in northern Iraq, archaeologists found exactly that person, a man whose skeleton showed an amputated arm, partial blindness, and severe arthritis throughout his joints and spine. By any competitive logic, a group under constant survival pressure should have left him behind. Instead, the evidence suggests he lived for years after those injuries, which means someone kept him fed, warm, and protected long after he stopped being useful in the way a hunting group typically needs. That decision, sustained, costly, and repeated day after day, may be the oldest recorded evidence of healthcare on the planet. Not a hospital, not a doctor, just people who decided a person was worth keeping alive anyway. Care alone wasn't enough, though. Ancient humans also needed something that actually worked on the body itself, and that meant plants, tested the hardest way possible, by trial, by death, by whatever survived to be tried again. A frozen mummy discovered in the Alps, dated to roughly 5,300 years old, was found carrying a small pouch containing fungus threaded onto a cord. Later analysis showed that fungus carries compounds with antimicrobial and antiparasitic properties, and the same body showed signs of intestinal parasites. He wasn't decorating himself. He was medicating himself, using knowledge that had clearly been passed down rather than invented on the spot. That knowledge runs deeper than any single mummy. Tartar preserved on much older remains, tens of thousands of years old, has revealed traces of plants with no caloric value at all, but with documented medicinal properties. People weren't eating them for energy. They were eating them because, somewhere along the line, someone learned they helped, and that information outlived the person who first discovered it. The clearest thread connects directly to your medicine cabinet. Bark from a particular tree has been chewed for pain relief for thousands of years, appearing in ancient medical writings from multiple civilizations. That bark contains a compound your body converts into a well-known pain-relieving acid, the same molecule a German chemical company eventually stabilized into a pill in the late 1800s. The aspirin in your cabinet isn't an invention. It's a copy. When plants weren't enough, some ancient humans went further than most people realize. Skulls have been recovered from multiple continents: Peru, France, Russia, parts of Africa, showing a hole deliberately cut through the bone with a sharpened stone tool, some of them clearly healed over. This procedure, one of the oldest known surgeries in human history, was likely attempted for severe headaches, seizures, or head trauma, a direct, physical guess at treating something no one could actually see inside the skull. Bone regrowth analysis on many of these remains suggests survival rates far higher than the procedure's crude tools would predict. None of this knowledge lived in a book. It lived in a person, often a single individual within a group who held the accumulated medical memory of dozens of generations. Which plant, which dose, which procedure, passed forward through practice and story rather than writing. Lose that one person, and a tribe didn't just lose a healer. It lost its entire medical archive at once. Even fever reveals something modern medicine took a surprisingly long time to relearn. For decades, doctors treated fever as malfunction, something to cool down immediately. It isn't. Fever is the immune system deliberately raising the body's temperature to conditions many pathogens can't survive. Ethnographic studies of hunter-gatherer groups show people with fever moved closer to the fire, not away from it. An instinct with no scientific vocabulary behind it, built entirely from thousands of years of watching who lived and who didn't. Every pill, every clinical trial, every white-walled hospital sits on top of that same original method. Someone got sick, someone tried something, and when it worked, The knowledge outlived the person who found it, that we didn't invent medicine, that we inherited it. One accidental discovery, passed hand to hand, long enough to become a species that occasionally forgets where any of it came from.